Right, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. This is the Bottom Line. Let me welcome you tonight to the show. It's going to be a very special night. Tonight we talk about climate change, and we have a specialist in this area who is also the Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Agency, and it gives us that opportunity to be exploring that specific area as well. So it's an exciting show. You want to stick and stay with us on tonight. Of course, my name is Kwesi Efrie. You can catch me on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Chairman Kwesi Efrie on Twitter or X, Kwesi Efrie on Instagram, Kwesi Efrie, and every other platform, Kwesi Efrie. We are live also on our Facebook page, Chairman Kwesi Efrie, and we are live on DSTV channel 277, and of course, on all local media channels everywhere across the length and breadth of the country. We are coming away live from our studios here at Region Accra. Tonight, again, as I say, is a talk about our climate. But all of you who have followed Bottomline and the other shows that we organize, for example, The Honorable, have maybe witnessed our friendship or our experience with the former Deputy Minister of Finance, Honorable John Kuma, who was also a member of Parliament for the Adjusted constituency. We've had some kind of a relationship with him. And as a way of tribute, we want to remind ourselves one of the times that we had an interview with him. This was on The Honorable. We want to see just a bit of it, and then we'll come straight into our interview for the night. Thank you very much for the opportunity to allow us into your office.
Yes, thank you.
Of course, we've been meeting quite a number of times, and I've had the opportunity to speak to you on other platforms, Business Edition and all of that. But today we are talking politics. Yes. However, let me ask you, how has it been for you here at the NEIP? We'll come to politics, your student days and all of that.
Yes, I give thanks to God for the opportunity to serve my country. And I thank His Excellency, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for giving opportunity to young men like me to also serve our country. So far, so good. I also want to thank my Honorable Minister, Alhaji Dr. Awal Mohammed. He's been like a father to me.
I think we can put it that so far, you are the best pair for an agency and its sector ministry. For you, the CEO and your sector minister, we see the pairing to be very, very vibrant from the outside.
Yes, he handles me like a son. And I take it as a privileged opportunity to understudy him and to learn how to, lead as a CEO whilst you're observing your minister's direction and the president's vision. So I learn a lot from him, and I always want to show gratitude for the opportunity he has offered me, and he understands me, so I also appreciate him a lot.
And how has it been? Successes, or you have had failures? Because we always see you, we have trained this number of people, we have done greenhouse. Can you run us through 3 years?
Yes. It has been fantastic. The vision of His Excellency Nana Addo has been to give an enabling environment for young people to be able to become empowered economically by helping them to create their own jobs and supporting them to roll out their own vision and innovative ideas. And so far under the NEIP, the president set up a $100 million facility to help startups in Ghana. And in the past 2 years that we have been on the program, we have trained 19,000 startups.
19,000?
19,000.
People to start their own business?
Start their own businesses, 19,000.
Wow.
And that is just under only the Presidential Business Support Program. We have other ones like the PWID, support for physically disabled women who are entrepreneurs. We have SCIs, which is the Students Entrepreneurship Initiative. All these are different interventions that we have done and trained thousands of young people. But under the Presidential Business Support alone, we have trained 19,000. And we have funded 4,350 of them with a minimum of 10,000 cedis and a maximum of 100,000 Ghana cedis.
What's the number again? 4,000?
4,350.
Giving them money to go and start business.
Yes, minimum of 10,000 cedis and a maximum of 100,000 Ghana cedis. So the president has been very consistent with his vision of helping young people to be empowered economically and to start their own business.
Is this money you give to party food soldiers or money you give to people that you're able to monitor
Yes.
and make sure that their businesses are thriving, or at least they have been able to do something with it?
So under the NEIP program, there's no political colorization. You have to apply, and once you apply, automatically you qualify for
The system doesn't know your party card.
No. Once you apply, you qualify immediately for the training. But it's at the training center. That is where assessment is done, your vision or your business idea is, measured and scaled up and weighed. And then if you qualify based on the criteria of scalability, job creation, innovativeness, among other things, if your idea gets selected, that's when you...
Right, welcome back from the break. So I told you about the fact that John Kuma has been a long-standing friend of Metro TV and, of course, the Bottomline, the Honorable, and all of our shows. And so we just reminded ourselves how he was our friend. And the interview we just played for you was way back, somewhere 2017, 2018, thereabout, when he was the Chief Executive Officer of the National Entrepreneurship Innovation Program. And so we still are commiserating with the family of Honorable John Kuma, and we are saying, may his soul rest in peace. Let me come back to the show now, and I have Dr. John KINGSLEY KRUGU is the Acting Chief Executive Officer or the Executive Director of the Environmental Protection Agency, and we are happy to have him here tonight. I'm sure that he will agree that we will continue having him either here or in his office, because when we talk about issues of the environment, I mean, it is actually endless. And I'm sure almost everyone has some issue to deal with, whether it's climate change, whether it's noise pollution, whether it's hazardous environment, whether it's even the Ministry of Sanitation. Every other ministry has something to do with the environment and the protection, the preservation of the environment. We want to be asking him tonight, what has the Environmental Protection Agency been doing to preserve the environment for us as Ghanaians? We heard the president talk about the cleanest city in the year 2020 and maybe 2024. All of those issues has something to do with the environment. Climate change I've mentioned, and all of those ones. So he has a very big task on his head as the executive director of the authority. We'll be going into that, but it will interest you to know that this man, of course, is a well-accomplished man, a doctor, a public health specialist, and a lot of accolades to his name. He was the man in charge of the landscape restoration and small-scale mining projects. All of us have been talking about Galamsey and illegal mining and preservation of forests, and you hear Giadek wanting to go into the Tiwa forest, the Nyinahini forest, and you hear lots of these NGOs coming up against them, all of an attempt to preserve the environment, coming up against government and so on and so forth. Let me welcome him into the studio. We'll begin with the landscape restoration issues. We'll talk a little about illegal mining. If you have any concern, you may want to put them up on our screen, and our number is on there. We'll take just a few messages if we do get, but we'll allow him to speak, and at the points where we need to be educated, we'll ask all the questions, and subsequently, we'll get into the tough ones. And then we will come into the Environmental Protection Agency. Good evening, and thank you very much for joining us all.
Good evening, Ima, and good evening to all your listeners this evening.
I hope you're doing very well.
Very well, very well. And let me begin on where you started, because I have become emotional a little bit. The late Dr. John Kuma and I were in the trenches together. We have been in the days of TESCON together.
Wow.
And I remember on the 20th of February was the last time I communicated with him. And then we thought...
That's not too far ago.
That's not too far ago.
20th of February.
Yeah, that's not long ago.
I went to look for him, I think, in December, the last week of December.
No,
in his office, and I was told that he was a little indisposed.
Yes,
and that
so
was just
my last time was 20th February, and
it means you were talking regularly.
Yes, and so we had plans to meet up and some other discussions. So let me say that once you showed that clip, I became very emotional. And may his soul rest in perfect peace. The ways of God, no one can question. And so I think that I hope that our brother will find a resting place in the bosom of the Lord until we all meet together. Yes, so having said that, yes, it's true that in the last few years, I've had the privilege to be the national coordinator for the landscape restoration and small-scale mining project. And the component of it that has been my area of focus has been the small-scale mining aspect. And let me explain how that project came about. You know, the issue of Galamsey and what happens there is an eyesore to all of us. We are all not happy to see the color of the river bodies. We are not happy to see the destruction that goes on in the environment. And we are also aware that countdown to the 2020 elections, His Excellency the President said he was putting his presidency on the line. And the evidence did show that he actually put his presidency on the line. So post-2020, he took a decision that, look, I nearly lost this election on the basis of Galamsey fight, and therefore I'm not going to walk away. I want to tackle it head on. And so there are two-pronged approach. That the charge he gave to the minister responsible for lands and natural resources, the Honorable Samuel A. Jinapo, and the Minister of Environment, Science, Technology, Innovation, was that there are two-pronged approach to dealing with the matter. One aspect is to continue with the military approach and make sure that whatever is happening that is not right, there will be intervention militarily, by the military, to stop it. So we are all familiar with that. To that extent, this is what has been known in the media as the Galamsey fight. That is what the public is fully aware. And when they don't see some of these arrests happening, then they will say that, oh, the government has failed in the fight against Galamsey. But there is a huge component of the fight that is not always visible in the media. And that is the part that I had the opportunity to play as coordinating the long-term sustainable response that the president charged all of us to work with the various agencies that has a mandate to do something about it. And I'm talking about the Minerals Commission, the EPA, which I have the privilege to lead now, the Ghana Geological Survey Authority, the Forestry Commission, the Water Resources Commission, the PMMC. So all these agencies, you know, and also research institute like the University of Mines and Technology. So all these institutions, we got a charge and we had to look for support from the World Bank to fund the long term, and the president emphasized that. And when he said that, he said he was aware that some of the measures that we need to undertake will go beyond his presidency. But he did say that some of the issues that we have to deal with are structural issues. And therefore, you are not going to get them addressed overnight. it needs a long-term view, a long-term perspective. Some of them has to do with institutional strengthening. If you have to strengthen an institution to make sure that it is able to carry out its mandate effectively, that is not a question that needs to be answered overnight. If you have to build capacity to make sure that the requisite capacity exists to be able to deal with the issue, it's not an overnight matter. If you want to look into laws and policies and formulate them or develop them, make sure that you tighten the legal framework and make sure that policies are put in place. It is not an overnight. So some of those activities is what we have been busy implementing. Also improving efficiency and making sure that you address some of the things that are promoting the informal sector. And I prefer to call it not illegal mining, but informal mining. Because if you look at it, the resources are invested in the people of Ghana. And so people have discovered some minerals behind their backyard. What they haven't done is they have not gone to take
the requisite licenses
so that they can come under the regulatory supervision of the EPA and the Minerals Commission, the Forestry Commission, Water Resources Commission. And so what they are doing, they are in the informal sector. That is the reason why an aspect of the work that I had been doing until this recent appointment is called formalization of ASM. That is to shift people from the informal sector and bring it to formal sector. And it's an important thing, not just because if you look across the entire African continent, the small-scale mining sector is a very large employer of the younger generation. So what we need to do is to formalize the sector, move people from the informal sector to bring them to the formal sector so that they come under regulation of the regulatory
still within the mining space.
Yes. Yes. Because still within the mining space.
I was going to ask you that, are you aware of the National Alternative Employment and Livelihood Program?
Absolutely. I mean, I was part of the team that worked to bring that NALEP into fruition.
NALEP, yes, NALEP, the National Alternative
and Livelihood Program,
and Employment and Livelihood Program.
Yes, and you know that when
are there not duplicity of duties?
No.
That's what I'm asking. I mean,
so this is what happened.
So
this is what happened.
Yes.
If you remember,
yes,
post 2020 election, during the president's speech, the inaugural speech, he did say that he wanted to have a national dialogue on a matter that nearly cost his presidency. And you may recall that the Honorable Samuel A. Jinapor, upon taking office as the minister responsible for lands and natural resources, took the president's words literally and went around organizing that national dialogue. Did it in Accra here, he did it up north, did it in the southern sector to bring people together to a round table to have a conversation. One of the recommendations that came out of the national dialogue was to find an alternative, okay? Because not everybody who is in the small-scale mining sector wants to be there. People are just looking for their daily bread. People want to survive, okay? And so one of the recommendations was that put in a system, something that those who are in the sector, when they want to exit, then they have a leeway. Can they find something else that is also economically...
which is sustainable.
Yes, which is sustainable. And that is why a committee was put together. I was part of that committee, and we came out with NALEP. Now, what NALEP does is still in the mining sector. So, for example, if we are all complaining about the destruction of the environment,
yes,
part of the solution is to do land reclamation and land restoration,
yes,
to be able to restore the land back to either economic use or aesthetic purposes, whichever way you look at it. Then NALEP says that, okay, if we can reclaim and engage young people, instead of them going into mining, they can also get into revegetation. You know, they will want to plant trees on the lands that have been reclaimed and all of that, but that is also paid. So that gives them an economic opportunity to do something that is sustaining the land, but they earn income. And therefore, some people who want to go into the informal sector of conducting galamsey may choose to say, hey, if there is a way that I can still earn income and rather contribute to environmental sustainability, I prefer to go that way.
Should NALEP not have come under your
absolutely
authority?
Not.
Why
Absolutely
not? Why not? You are in charge of landscape restoration and small-scale mining projects.
Yes.
So you are in charge of the restoration of the land.
Yes.
Which has been destroyed by these informal miners. Let me put it that way.
Completely agree.
You are also in charge of the people, the informal people that are mining. And we need to bring them back into society, restored. Maybe get them into some artisanal training. Get them into replanting of trees and so on and so forth. You sat on that committee to set up NALEP. When it should have come under you?
No, but you needed to know my title. National Coordinator.
No, was it because it was a minister's decision? No, as a technocrat. I'm asking you as a technocrat. You are a technocrat.
Yes.
And from the explanations I have and what I have read on, NALEP should be under landscape restoration. Do you agree or not?
I don't.
You don't
Landscape restoration is not an agency with an act of parliament. You have to keep that in mind, that it was a project. And my role is a national coordinator, coordinating. The actual implementation of activities takes place under the agencies that has a mandate to do that. That is why my role has been national coordinator. If you bring NALEP under the project to implement, you are creating an agency within a project. And that is not the intention of the president. He says that our role was to coordinate the activities of the agencies that are mandated by law to be able to implement certain activities. And we have been doing that. And when NALEP came into existence, NALEP works with the Minerals Commission, you know, that has already been doing some of those activities to continue to implement activities and programs that will contribute to alternative livelihood for people and environmental sustainability. Ours was to coordinate all of that and working to make sure that funding is made available from the World Bank for these agencies to be able to continue and looking into institutional assessment. I'll give you an example. We had to conduct an institutional assessment of the Precious Minerals and Marketing Company. We did the same thing for the Ghana Geological Survey Authority to be able to appreciate, because the president asked the question that, what is it? Because in other countries, you don't have this institutional framework. Here, we have the institutional framework, we have the legal framework, we have a conducive policy environment. So the president asked that question. What is it that can be done better in these agencies to make sure that the issues that, the gamut of issues that we are confronted as a nation can be dealt with? And he said that we don't need to create new institutions. We just need to make sure that we look into the existing ones and strengthen what needs to be strengthened, build capacity where it is necessary, and check if new policies has to be formulated, if the legal framework need to be tightened. Those were the marching orders that we got, and we went into work.
Let me ask this question specifically. I mean, people ask about whether the fight against galamsey is going on and so on and so forth. But I think that if we look at it specifically from specific angles and aspects, for example, the restoration of the lands, and I think even if people continue to mine informally, I mean, for choosing better words under your guidance. So if people continue to mine informally and consistently or continuously, we're able to reclaim the lands immediately, we won't be where we are or won't have a problem.
Absolutely.
Are we winning in our restorative activities from where you said?
Yes. And again, let me repeat that for people to continue to mine informally, and then we look for money and go and reclaim the land, that is not the solution. The solution is to integrate the land reclamation aspect to what people are going to do. And that is partly what the EPA, working in collaboration with the other agencies, has been trying to put in place. You know that we do not have these problems with the large-scale mining companies. You know why? They post bonds.
Yes.
They post bonds, and they undertake their mining activities. And these bonds are not peanuts. So they put money aside, and if they do not follow through environmental sustainability practices and make sure that they reclaim whatever land that has been, turned around and all of that, they will lose those bonds that are posted, okay? Now, the EPA is saying that if this works with the large-scale mining companies, let us see how we can also build that into the small-scale mining sector so that, but the most important thing is formalization. Let me repeat that, because you can even ask that, yes, small-scale mining companies will also have to post bonds, yes. But that is only if they are formalized. They have obtained the necessary licenses from the Minerals Commission, from the EPA, all that. Then they come under regulatory supervision.
Do you think that...
And that is where you can begin to discuss all of this. And that is what our project has also contributed. You are aware, and I'm sure you probably have been invited by the Minerals Commission to show you the mining cadastral administration system that has been digitalized thanks to the visionary digitalization vice president we have. The MCAS has been digitalized. What that simply means is that you can be able to apply for mining licenses sitting anywhere, even in your village. All you need is to have a smartphone and have access to the internet. And as we speak now, under the Landscape Restoration and Small-Scale Mining Project, that system is being funded to upgrade it, to incorporate, to bring the EPA, Water Resources Commission.
Which is secured. Let me give that to you. I mean, let me give that to you that you have led. I didn't want to go in there, but of course, we admit that you have led positively acquisition of funding and some positive activities in the space. But I was going to ask you whether you think that is all. For example, the digitization that we've been able to digitize lots of systems and all of that. We still have that informal mining going on. With all the things that you have done positively to stop, let me say, galamsey or informal mining, we still have the action going on. Some have premised it on corruption, that because there is corruption in the system, there are people who even have the licensing all right, but they will still go ahead and mine illegally. People who are very formal but small scale are very, very, very conscious of Agenda 2030 and the fact that you are very much involved in it and all of that, and they subscribe to all of that, and they still do informal where they are not supposed to.
Yes, so I just told you that His Excellency the President, in giving us the marching orders, he says that, look, two-pronged approach, and the Minister for Lands has carried this out excellently. One is the military approach that should make sure that we try to intervene immediately. That has been happening and still ongoing. But he did say that structural problems, the issues you talked about, you say that, oh yes, we have formalized it, we've digitalized it, but the informal sector is still going. Yes, it is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. That process is ongoing. You have to know that after putting the MCAS in place, digitalizing it, okay, the Mineral Commission has gone beyond that and is working on the tracking system. The very example you gave, that somebody will have a license, all right, but has a tendency to go outside the parameters of the concession and engage in informality and illegality, you know. But here's the thing. So the next step, and that is happening at the Minerals Commission, and you might have also been invited to visit the control room that has been built and the state-of-the-art equipment that has been installed there. The work is ongoing to put trackers on every equipment, earth-moving equipment, that are going to engage in these mining activities. And when we get there, and you just said that somebody with a license can still engage in illegal activities. Now, if there was a tracker installed on your machines that you are using to do your work, then in the control room, people can monitor, you know, what is going on and be able to bring you to book. All of these systems, they will not just happen overnight and that the following day, because you have installed a tracker or you've digitalized it, everything comes to a stop. We're dealing with human beings, we're dealing with institutions, and it will take time. What is most important is to take the right steps now and to commit to it, even knowing that what I'm going to do, it may not bring fruition even within my term, and still committing to invest resources. Look, the project I was coordinating is designed to run until 2027. His Excellency the President knew that his tenure will come to an end, you know, come early 2025. But he still put a program in place that goes all the way to 2027. That is that kind of long-term perspective and vision and thinking about sustainable pathway to dealing with the issue. And that is where we should all applaud His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, for that kind of thinking. Because in most cases, people think that you just do things towards the next election. But here is a president who's looking at the next generation and saying that, look, when we have been implementing that project, he knew that it is running till 2027. There are certain activities we have initiated. The time you will get to see real results, it may be 2025, 2026, 2027. That is where you get the real impact. But the amount of work that has been put into it and the long-term perspective is what we should all be thinking about.
I have a lot of questions on the landscape restoration and small-scale mining project. But you are the Executive Director of Environmental Protection Agency now. Let me start from the bottom. And because of time, let me move away from the land scale. You were able to acquire $103 million from the World Bank as the coordinator. Even though I'm suggesting that NALEP should have been under you, you disagree. Yeah. But just as a coordinator, you were able to secure these funds. And I'm sure that it will be to your name, of course, with your team, for the rest of the existence of the landscape restoration project. What do you want to be noted for? How long have you been in? And then what do you want to be noted for? I'm talking about the $103 million a year, and we'll keep talking about it. Yeah. What should we keep talking about during your tenure as the Chief Executive Officer of EPA?
Yes, but thank you so much. Let me quickly add that it is not an individual.
Of course, you let. Yes, that's what all leaders say. It is not by myself.
No,
but you led the effort. So we'll give it to you. You and your team.
It's a collective effort. Mm-hmm. It is started by Dr. Isaac Kakari, whom I took over. I work very closely with colleagues at the EPA. The interesting thing is this amount that was procured. A chunk of it is even being spent under the EPA.
Wow. Which you are heading now.
Which I'm heading now. So that makes it an interesting. So yes, the colleagues at EPA and the effort they also put into it is what contributed to securing that fund. And I have heard people even say that, well, it is only few months left to the end of the life of this government, so what can you do? My answer has always been that, look, governance is a continuum.
Exactly.
Okay, I am taking over from the Honorable Dr. Kokofu, who has done a brilliant job at the EPA in the last 3.5 years. A fantastic job. I'm beginning to uncover all the work that has been put into the efforts that has been made at the EPA. And the work he has brought certain aspects of the work very close to getting to completion, and he had to hand over to me. My job is to make sure we continue on that. One of the critical aspect of it is that the EPA is called an agency. But we know that the matters in the environment, whether you are looking at the petrochemical industry, or you are looking at mining sector, or you are looking at the plastic industry, you are looking at pollution, you are looking at waste management, you are looking at climate actions. Whichever way you look at it, the environment is critical to our sustainability. In fact, it is the issues within the environment poses an existential threat to our very existence on this earth. And therefore, we all, as a people, have to take environmental matters very serious. So one of the things that, and the Honorable Minister for Environment, Science, Technology, Innovation, and the Honorable Dr. Kokofu has been working in the last few years, has been to be able to turn it from an agency into an authority, to give it more powers to be able to, superintend over and safeguard our environment. And so that work is currently before a subcommittee in Parliament. I think that my immediate responsibility would be to be able to work to support the incoming Minister for Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, to be able to support her to push that bill through Parliament, to give authority to the EPA and strengthen the EPA, give it more biting capacity to be able to take certain measures for us to be able to protect our environment. That is one of the critical things that I want to continue to work to. Of course, the EPA is an autonomous body as well. It doesn't get subventions from central government.
Wow.
So, yes.
You don't get subventions?
No. So, I think since 2016, that decision was made, and the EPA is an autonomous. So how we can also sustain the EPA itself and be able to strike a balance between making sure that the agency is able to generate the needed internal generated income to be able to sustain it, and balancing that, very importantly, on the public good that the EPA is offering. The EPA is not a business entity. The EPA has a mandate to protect our environment. And protecting the environment, you don't just look at the figures. It is a public good. It is an ethical, and a moral responsibility that is placed on the EPA. So how to balance that? Make sure that the EPA continue to deliver a public good. All of us want to go to bed and sleep without noise pollution. We all want to breathe very clean air. We want to drink very clean water. We want to work in a safe environment, and the EPA has that responsibility, that mandate, to make sure that we can all thrive in a very safe and healthy environment. But at the same time, the EPA itself would also have to be sustainable, and that is also one of the areas that I am going to pay critical attention to.
So when you say, for example, we are going on monitoring, let's say you are coming to Metro TV or you are coming to Accra Sub-Metro to do monitoring.
We'll come to Metro TV very soon, just to check whether...
So what exactly, I want for the purposes of the layman watching us tonight, what exactly would you come to check?
Well, everything, if you like. You know, there are environmental monitoring guidelines that the inspectors will come and check. You know, do you have even environmental permit? You see that I have entered here and I'm sitting here. This is a public space.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not your private place.
I agree.
And therefore, is it safe for me to be here in the first place? You know, what are the safety systems that has been put in place?
You check fire,
to make sure
fire is
everything,
fire service?
everything. You know, what are the measures you have put in place to make sure that when I come here, my family can be rest assured that you
will finish the program and come home in whole.
Yes, in whole. You know. And so
yes,
the safety measures you have put in place, the environmental issues that you've looked at and all of that, they will be monitoring. And so that's why I said it is both ethical and moral responsibility that the EPA has to discharge. And in doing that, we are mindful of the public good that we have to offer. At the same time, we also have to hold people responsible to make sure that they are also doing their part for us to be able to protect the environment. And everything, the environment is anything from industry to petrochemicals,
yes,
to mining, to
even the large-scale miners. I remember Newmont's cyanide. There was a cyanide spillage some time back, and then you were big on that one.
Absolutely.
I think around 2005, 6 thereabout.
Absolutely.
Or 2009.
Even just producing cement. You know, what are you going to use to package it? And if you use plastic materials to package it, where does the plastic material end up? They will end up choking the gutter.
I don't know if this is under your purview, but this is off the discussion. I've seen those mixers, concrete mixers, from factories who pour the mixed concrete on the road, and they leave it like that. And before you realize it's hardened up and causing accidents, just like potholes. Is there any way you want to attend to that?
Everything that has implications for the environment, EPA Act is mandated to get instructions from the minister. The minister can direct EPA to undertake anything that has implications to the environment. It's as simple as that. So you said the concrete mixtures, they're working under a certain industry.
Yes.
And in that area too, people need to have a permit from the EPA to be able to conduct that. And once you have the permit...
The building and construction industry?
The built environment. Built environment. You know, if you come to the EPA, there's a whole department, the built environment department, and they look into all of that, whether people have the permit to do what they are doing, and are they doing it in accordance with environmental guidelines, safe environmental guidelines, such that not only the land and soil and trees and plants are protected, but the human beings who are working in that environment. To what extent are they also protected?
So for the purposes of somebody's question, I'm going to ask you what I'm asking, then I continue with the question. For the purposes of enforcement, monitoring and evaluation, do you have enough staff?
I think
offices.
I think offices is a challenge. You know, the EPA headquarters, for example, is overstretched in terms of office space. So it's one of the issues that, in fact, the union came to me to discuss just today about how we can, look at how to get space for the workers. In terms of staffing, in the last few years, the leadership of the EPA had to take very bold decisions to increase the staff capacity. So I think the staffing
I'm asking that because that Daniel Yabua from Awo, she says, please talk to the executive director of EPA. He knows, or he seems to know, a lot about the environment, but we need jobs. They can create jobs in every district for EPA officers. That's why I'm asking whether you have offices across the country. So he's asking whether you can create jobs and employ more people, train them, and equip them to become EPA officers in every district.
Yes, and I touched a bit about it. I did say that the EPA is autonomous. Okay, so at the moment, the EPA doesn't have offices in all districts, but it has area offices. At the moment, there are offices in the regions, and there are area offices that are have oversight for more than one district. The objective, of course, is to be able to get to the point where you have offices in every district to be able to take care of environmental issues there. But when you are autonomous, you do that alongside your revenue generation, physical discipline alongside. And I think that the pathway is clear. There's a new strategic plan coming in that would also look at it from a sustainability point of view, but also be able to expand.
Would you need government support in this? Because you agree that this is a very crucial point. I mean, people are cooking all over the place. People are food vendors, pharmacies, companies are all over the place serving people. Public goods, as you say, and you call it. And that you need to be able to monitor everything.
Yes, yes.
So you need offices every nook and cranny of the country.
Absolutely. And over time, that will happen.
Will you make a call on government to support you in getting offices?
I think government is supporting. I listened to the minister, the incoming minister on her vetting, and she's very much conscious of all of this, and she spoke about how she's coming in to be able to support the EPA and make sure that the EPA is more sustainable and be able to expand to offer services in every nook and corner of this country.
My time is up, but I'm getting a lot more messages. Let me ask this last one. I would like to ask the EPA boss, what benefits do we stand to gain from them? They keep taking huge amounts of from businesses. He's explained a lot, but about the huge amounts they take from.
What benefits? We all want to have very quality oxygen to breathe in. We want to get to net zero at a point where the amount of carbon dioxide being put into the atmosphere is also the same amount is being taken out of it. And we have this 2060 goal that we all want to get to and be able to deal with climate change and have a sustainable we all want to stay away from pollution, whether it's water, air, whatever. Nobody wants to get into a pollution. We want to be able to manage our waste in such a way that we can even have renewable energy out of it. We want to have green jobs. We want to decarbonize. So there's so much that the EPA has to offer.
Good evening to you, Director. Can you please give us, unfortunately my time is up. A producer says my time is up. But this one says, can you give us a brief about noise making, especially the churches and mosques? Okay, Matthew from Medina, your message has also been seen. My guest tonight, I'm sure we'll have another time with him and we'll get him to answer just questions. There are no questions from myself. But Dr. John Kingsley Krugu is the Acting Executive Director, Environmental Protection Agency, soon to be authority, I'm sure under his directorship. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. My name is Kwesi Efri, and this has been The Bottom Line. Thank you all very much for your text messages, and have a very good evening.